What were they really doing?
I think what happened is they may well have gotten snookered. Somebody said, hey, the great white whale has got these two things that are going to get him dead to rights. One of them's in the safe and the other one is hidden, wherever. You've got to get these documents right now. Oof. He's going to destroy them. Get in now and get them.
I can buy this. I can buy this story because this looks like a huge, huge blunder, Clay.
They rush in, Buck. They don't find them where they're supposed to. They start to panic. Next thing you know, they're going through Melania Trump's underwear drawer like, it's got to be here somewhere. It doesn't sound like a very well-organized raid if you spend over 9 hours doing it.
It didn't take very long. We were talking about this as soon as it happened. On Tuesday, when the raid occurs, and everyone's that night, I'm on Jesse's show on Fox. You're on Sean's show on Fox. We're talking about this, and there was a moment of true.
I think it was Monday night, right?
I'm sorry, Monday night. Thank you. Yeah, there's a moment of true, just outrage. I mean, honest to God, what are these lunatics doing? This is a former president, and they were telling us on the other side the way that they were playing it was, oh, but we need to wait for the facts to come in. And now more facts have come in. And what we see is they're telling us Trump is overplaying his hand. Trump is the one who is controlling the narrative. He's pouncing. That's their favorite word. And the FBI didn't do anything wrong. And people are saying mean things about the FBI. And I think this is very directly tied to the fact that with more information here, this does seem to be a fishing expedition, a massive overreach, and a blunder.
Yeah, I think that's true. And you can't blame someone. And we kind of hinted at this yesterday. Trump is, for all of the criticisms that people out there levy against him, innately aware of advantage and leverage. And you would expect that he would be good at that because that's basically how you have success in business. When you have leverage on your side, you exploit it. And here was a clear, what seems to me, misplay by the Department of Justice, the FBI, and Merrick Garland. And this is what we were talking about yesterday, Buck, that I find so significant. In June, just a couple of months ago, the FBI and some of the archives peoples, they came to Mar-a-Lago while Trump was there. He showed them the documents. According to the Wall Street Journal this morning, he said, hey, let me know if I can help you at all. And after that visit, they called back or emailed back, I think it was, and said, hey, could you better restrict access to those documents? A day later, the Trump people put a more significant padlock on the door where many of these documents were being stored. There was zero contact from that point all the way until August when this raid happened. These details matter, and I think they matter significantly, Buck, because Trump had been complying, friendly, with the investigation into what these documents might be and where they might belong and all of those attributes. And then out of nowhere, suddenly we get a morning raid that lasts for 9 some odd hours at his Mar-a-Lago residence while he's not there. And this story breaks, and this is what I was hitting as we finished yesterday's show. This story broke not on the New York Times, not on the Washington Post, not on MSNBC, not on CNN, not on friendly Democrat media, where almost all negative Trump stories break. Trump broke it himself. Trump posted on Truth Social and said, oh my goodness, look at what they are doing. They're raiding me. And Trump didn't even break it early in the raid. He basically broke that news when they finished their raid, Buck. So I think the more and more I look at this, the more I think this was just a colossal miscalculation by the Department of Justice, by the FBI, in not realizing how insanely, absurdly ridiculous this was going to look for them.
So I come from within the federal bureaucracy at the CIA, right, Clay? And one discussion that we would always have is this incompetence or malevolence? About whenever the federal bureaucracy is involved, you wonder, is this just we're so dumb that we messed this up this badly, or did somebody make a decision somewhere to abuse their power or to engage in a politicized targeting? Here is, for example, just on how the narrative has shifted. You'll notice Christopher Wray of the FBI director, is saying, it's terrible and deplorable, the threats people are making against FBI agents. Okay, obviously threats against FBI in general are stupid and illegal and people shouldn't do that. But how about also speaking out about how the FBI isn't a Praetorian Guard? How about we're not actually doing the things that people very understandably think are being done right now? He could take a moment here to say, guys, I promise you, when the facts come out, everything we have done is by the book, everything we've done. But I think he maybe recognizes at some level people don't really believe him. So that's one. Certainly a lot of people listening to this right now, and I would put myself in that category too.
I'm in that category as well.
Do not believe him, but at least he could try. But notice they're also now acting like, oh, well, Trump is making a big deal out of nothing. Here is a Heilman over at MSNBC.
The DOJ did not make this public. They did not publicize this search of Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump did. And it seems to me, for the reasons that Joyce is kind of implying, that's what this is all about. Trump took this public because he thought it was in his interest to not just to spur these conspiracy theories, but then to put pressure on the DOJ. What would they say? There's nothing they could say that Donald Trump and the right wouldn't make part of their narrative. They'd be attacked for breaking with policy. They'd be attacked for dirtying up Donald Trump, no matter what the words that came out of their mouth are.
So the problem is that Trump said that they raided my home for 9 hours now? I mean, you want to talk about gaslighting. This is like slapping somebody in the face, saying, hold on, I have a good reason. You wait till it fades a little bit, and then they say, okay, man, why'd you slap me in the face? It's, well, we both know you deserved it. That's why you didn't say anything when it happened.
Well, so this is interesting to me because what basically that MSNBC guest is saying is Trump shouldn't have drawn attention to the most unprecedented action ever undertaken in our democracy.
Yes.
Right?
Crazy.
I mean, that's what he's saying. And so I wonder, though, Buck, and this is what I was saying about the fact that Trump publicized it. I don't remember a lot of stories about the agents visiting in June, right? When they were at Mar-a-Lago, according to reports. We'll talk some with Miranda Devine about this. And I wonder whether they thought, clearly inaccurately, that Trump wouldn't go public with this. I wonder on some level whether that was part of their calculus and they didn't realize how bad they were going to look when this happened. And again, I just come back. This is Alan Dershowitz on Tuesday. We played the audio from him on Fox News. I thought he did a good job right immediately analyzing the legalities of it. He said they've been dealing with subpoenas this whole time and responding to subpoenas. That is, hey, could you please send us this document, this box, or allow us to come in and look at the things that you have? Why would they suddenly advance from subpoenas and or collegial, it appears, emails and phone calls and visits to a 20-plus person raid at the FBI? And, Buck, that to me, we need to see the warrant, right? I mean, they should let us know what they were actually searching
So as
for.
you and I, we talked to Andy McCarthy about this. I spoke to also
Yeah.
a friend of mine who was a prosecutor for the last 15 years earlier. We were texting about this yesterday. The warrant thing gets tricky because there's the part of the warrant that they do have to show, and then there's the parts of the warrant that they would only show if an indictment actually comes down, right? So when people say show the warrant, it's going to be a partial, even whatever they show will be partial. They will not show everything if they're for an ongoing criminal investigation. So part of that is going to be held away.
And this comes back, Buck, to the question we had in our initial conversation. I still circle back to. I don't think there's any doubt that the DOJ and the FBI have bungled this. The question I have is, what did they think that they were going to find that necessitated an acceleration to this level, right? And we've kind of surmised. We mentioned Kim Jong-un letters. I find it hard to believe that there is something that Trump took out of the White House that is so important that a warrant and an early morning raid had to happen.
Let's be clear, and others have been pointing this out, and I think some of them were listening to our show yesterday, which is great.
Yeah.
Trump did not hand select 15 boxes of documents that are being taken from. Trump has no idea what is actually in most of those boxes. He's the president, or was the president of the United States. He's a former president now. So this notion that it is comparable to what Hillary Clinton did. Hillary Clinton was reading top secret emails on her home computer on an unclassified server and forwarding them to people. Donald Trump has, in a locked room, documents that his staff has gone through and decided are to be a part of probably a future presidential library or whatever. He has absolutely no idea. And to your point about mens rea, he obviously has no criminal culpability in this. So when people are talking about it's classified, this isn't Trump stuffing classified documents in his socks, folks. That is
which
totally
has happened, basically.
bogus. That's Sandy Burglar or Sandy Berger. That's what happened. By the way, he got a fine and community service, just for everybody who's like, well, they went after Sandy Berger. They didn't send 30 FBI agents to his home.
Mens rea, and I think that's important for people out there to be thinking about. If there were some sort of criminal charge that were going to be brought, virtually every criminal charge requires two things: actus rea and mens rea. An act that is criminal in nature, and then an intent to do that act that is criminal in nature. I don't think there's any way, Buck, that there was an intent here on behalf of Trump, based on every detail that we have out here, that would in any way rise to the level of being criminal in nature. Buck, one thing that I don't think we've talked about enough, this was an all-day search of Mar-a-Lago. Mar-a-Lago, the private quarters, are around 3,000 square feet, is the reports that I have seen. Now, the overall Mar-a-Lago sort of expanse is massive. It's a large property, but the private quarter footprint is around 3,000 square feet. There have been reports that they felt they needed to have this warrant because there were specific documents that they needed to find, and Trump himself even said, hey, they searched my safe. If you had specific actionable knowledge about documents or objects that you were intending to seize, and it was part of a criminal investigation, isn't it pretty strong evidence that you didn't find it if you spent 9 hours there?
Absolutely. Also, Clay, if this were just the storyline we're being told, and I want to remind everybody, a couple of days ago it was just wait for the facts. There's a bombshell coming, and now it's it's no big deal. Why is Trump making such a big deal out of it? The usual suspects, we know what they're doing. But if this were just a routine showing up, hey guys, we got to get those docs. To your point, why were they in Melania's wardrobe? What are they doing there for 9 hours, folks? This is why people who say we should see the warrant, there should be some specificity. If this was about documents that they had already seen, where they were stored, they had already said, add a lock. What's with all the extra time?
Yeah, and if they had been told particularly new actionable information that necessitated suddenly a warrant and an acceleration to a large extent from cooperative behavior to antagonistic behavior via the warrant, wouldn't you have been able to find it immediately? If I told you, Buck, hey, I've got to go get this warrant, there's two things that are clear crimes inside of a 3,000 square foot home, how would it take you 9 hours? Like, wouldn't you go right in, grab those documents if they're so important? If you have good actionable intelligence on where they are, boom, you've got them. You certainly don't end up rifling through Melania Trump's dresses and shoes and her, maybe, I don't know, your lingerie. I mean, this is super weird behavior, right? When you really think about it, and they're going through everything Trump related to, that to me is an indication that they didn't find it. Just take it outside of a warrant. My wife just ran out of the house to take our son to school. She was running around like crazy looking for her keys before she left. I'm sure that happens at your house all the time. If you know exactly where the keys are, you just say, hey, they're on the counter by the exit. They're always there. You go grab them and you're gone. If you keep looking.
I've got an ugly yellow bowl by the front door, bright yellow.
Keys in
goes with
every
nothing.
time.
Keys in automatically every time. I will tell you, it has saved me hours. Pro tip for everybody, hours and hours and hours of your life back.
Every single time, right? But if you can't find them, then you spend way more time looking. So 9 hours, 9+ hours in Mar-a-Lago executing this warrant.
What do you think they were doing there? What were they really doing?
I think what happened is they may well have gotten snookered. Somebody said, hey, the great white whale has got these two things that are going to get him dead to rights. One of them's in the safe and the other one is hidden, wherever. You've got to get these documents right now. Ooh. He's going to destroy them. Get in now and get them.
I can buy this. I can buy this story because this looks like a huge, huge blunder, Clay.
They rush in, Buck. They don't find them where they're supposed to. They start to panic. Next thing you know, they're going through Melania Trump's underwear drawer like, it's got to be here somewhere. It doesn't sound like a very well-organized raid if you spend over 9 hours doing it.